is time for World's Worst Mixtape.
And this week is like Sophie's choice for me because it's musicals.
Song from a musical. One song. Only.
I nearly started singing a song from a musical that has one song in it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that for future topics you might just put in something that happens to be in a musical.
I mean, musical theatre and I are in a very long-term committed relationship. Mm-hmm. And most of my life is soundtracked by songs from musicals. I'm not ashamed. It's just, this was always going to be a tough choice for me because I like most musicals and I like most songs from musicals, and this podcast episode could be 9 years long.
I noticed you said most, so now I want to know what musical you hate.
It's less a case of hate.
Okay.
And more just occasionally there'll be a musical. It's not that I don't like it, but it's not something, for argument's sake, like Carousel.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
Yeah.
If nobody email in.
Those rabid Carousel fans.
Carousel fans are notoriously violent. Yeah. I really love Carousel, but
they are going to email in now.
But it's, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but I'm gonna. At the end, the ghost of the dead father gives his daughter a star from the sky as evidence that he's been to visit her. And I'm just, no, I can suspend disbelief. For as much as I believe that everyone who doesn't know each other randomly knows the same song and dance routine, but I can't suspend disbelief enough when somebody goes, hey, see this piece of plastic in the shape of a star? It's a real star that's from heaven. I can't. I'm sorry. So that's a difficult one. Also, it makes me cry, and yet, because it annoys me, I cry, and then I'm almost annoyed with myself for crying. There's that one.
I like the alternative ending to Carousel where he actually brings an actual star, and it's just a giant flaming ball of gas, and
there's just a
everyone
crater
dies.
in the earth from where he's
just
brought the star.
Sucked into the gravity of it, and flaming death for all. Hurrah! Good.
So anyway,
this week, songs from musicals.
Songs from musicals. Do you want me to go first?
If you like.
Okay. Now I'm cheating.
Okay.
Not on you. I am cheating.
Making podcasts with other people.
No, I'd never do that to you. No, I've cheated slightly because I've chosen as my song. We always have one song. That's the premise of this whole thing. But I've chosen a song that has a reprise version as well. And I feel we need to listen to both because part of the reason...
reprise and not reprise.
Yes, I've gone with reprise.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I wasn't expecting that little segue.
Sorry, I cut you off mid.
It's fine.
I'm sorry.
My point is, when we've listened to them, and we'll explain
yes
why I wanted to have the original and the reprise because there is such a chasm of difference. Personally, I believe between the tone of both.
Right.
But the song that I have chosen is "I'll Cover You" from Rent. Basically, Rent is a musical my sister went to see on a school trip when she was probably about 15 or 16. And I would have been there for 19 or 20. And she bought the soundtrack and became like obsessed with this musical. And so I started listening to the soundtrack and learnt the story. And it was one of those things because I've been literally raised on musicals. My mum loves musicals. One of the earliest films I ever remember watching is The Sound of Music. So musicals are a huge part of my life, but until I got to about 19 or so and found out about Rent, heard the soundtrack, I was kind of convinced that all musicals are very schmaltzy.
Yeah.
They're all very like boy meets girl, and they sing a lot.
Technicolor affairs.
Yeah, and even if somebody dies at the end, it's very majestic and beautiful and lovely, and you're meant to cry, but in a sort of like way.
Yes.
And then Rent came along and actually talked about extreme poverty and people dying of diseases which now they hopefully wouldn't necessarily die of because we have a lot more medication and stuff available. And there's just so many social issues going on in it. And not only that, but it was one of the first times I'd ever come across a musical where not everybody is a case of boy meets girl. There's boy meets boy and girl meets girl. And there's a whole thing where they sing La Vie Bohème, and it's about, do you know what? Everybody has a right to exist. Everybody has a right to be, whether they're gay, straight, bi, whatever their race, ethnicity is, everyone is equal. Let's all just celebrate everybody living their life the way they want to. And that was really powerful. And so this particular song is the love song between... It's very difficult to explain because some people, there will be people listening to this, and hopefully... there will be people listening to this.
Let's not make assumptions.
Well, you never know. There might be people listening to this who are quite dedicated to the musical Rent, and there is a bit of an argument between fans as to whether Angel is a man in drag or a transsexual. Angel refers to herself as she a lot, but then there are also characters in Rent who refer to Angel as he. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult one. I'm going to refer to Angel as she because I'm going to use the pronouns that Angel uses.
Okay.
But, so you have Angel and Collins is this very hard up guy who, you know, lives in this building with everybody else and they can't afford to pay the rent. And they meet and they fall in love. And the original song is, I think it works for friendship as much as it does for any kind of romantic relationship. Mm-hmm. And I love the lyrics because it's literally saying, I've met you and I really like you and I'm just going to be here for you.
Yeah.
Like, I will look after you in any way I can. And I
just let me on, I'll be your blanket, wherever, whatever, I'll be your coat.
So that's the original version.
That's the original version.
It's all very jolly, they've just met.
Yeah.
What happens in the course of the musical Rent is that Angel, who has AIDS, passes away of AIDS. And Collins sings the song again by himself. And what they do very cleverly, Jonathan Larson, who wrote Vent, he did not write Vent. Jonathan
That's
Larson,
a musical I would write.
I want to go and see Vent. Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent, was an incredibly talented man who unfortunately died the day before it started on Broadway, which is very sad. So he never got to see it take off the way it did. But he was very clever because one of the songs that most people know from Rent is Seasons of Love. Mm-hmm. And what they do with the reprise is they tie that song gently into I'll Cover You. And it all fits together with a lot of the characters singing to support Collins, and it's very beautiful.
Okay, so we're gonna listen to the reprise.
Yes, that.
525,600 minutes, 525,000 seasons.
Genuinely a little bit emotional.
A little bit emotion.
Yeah, I really love. I just think again, our favourite word, the juxtaposition between the sort of, oh, isn't this jolly, and I'm going to look after you, it's going to be wonderful, and then, oh, you've literally died. Like, he sings it.
As opposed to metaphorically
died. He sings it with such grief in his voice, and it's. I like the fact that they've gone from this very jaunty do 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 to almost gospel because it's funereal. Funereal. I don't know how to say that word. How do you say it?
Funereal.
Thank you. There you go. We've all learned something today. Reprise. And how you pronounce that word too.
I like, I was sort of talking about what people have as a perception of what a musical is, what a musical sounds like.
Yeah.
And this sounds like pop music of its era.
Totally.
The original version is sort of quite funky, disco-y almost. And then the second one is very, very gospel sounding. That piano at the beginning, very gospel. Then you've got the ensemble singing, sounding like a gospel choir in the end. So it's sort of not like Rodgers and Hammerstein sounding musical, which I think is good. I like that.
Open your door, I'll be your tenant.
I really enjoyed the difference in the two voices for the duet for the first one. They worked really nicely together, but they both had very distinct character, distinct sound. And that was really nice.
And I'll cover you. Open your door, I'll be your tenant.
I would say Rent. I don't mean to make it sound like a drug. It's a bit of a gateway musical. Because it's interesting you say it doesn't sound like most music. It's got a lot of rock in it. It's got a lot of sort of mid-tempo pop in it.
Yeah,
it's
that's become much more normal for musicals now.
It is, but I think at its time...
a new thing.
It was quite groundbreaking.
The late 60s, 70s, musicals did this kind of shift out of, Hollywood... big budget orchestra pieces into things like this, and Jesus Christ Superstar, which is a very rocky hair, all borrowing from popular music.
Absolutely.
And now you've got Hamilton.
Oh gosh, yeah. You go to the musical now and you get rapping.
You get rapping.
There's a little bit of rapping in Rent because Angel has a song where she raps. So
there you go.
There is everything. I mean, to be fair, when we said this was going to be a subject, and I knew, God, this is going to be hard for me because my brain went Les Mis because that is probably my favourite musical. But then I also went, that's very traditional.
Yeah.
Rent, I could have chosen almost every song from it. I could do essays on most tracks from Rent. When it goes on tour. Again, I am taking you to see Rent.
Okay, that sounds vaguely like a threat.
I mean, a little bit is, but I will let you choose when we have dinner to make up for it.
Okay.
There you go. Now I'm excited to see your choice.
Okay, so my choice is a little bit more trad musical.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about what makes a good song in a musical. So it's got to sound good. It's got to... For me, songs shouldn't move the plot on necessarily. Songs that are about emotionally exploring a point in the plot.
I agree.
So they're about exploring characters and tying the music and the character together. So one of my favourite musicals, because I do like musicals, not as much as you, but I do like them, is Phantom of the Opera. So I've picked Phantom of the Opera from Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, I'm just going to really enjoy listening to this now.
Opera. I love that. So I have a list of 13 very nerdy points to make.
So excited. Let me get a drink.
Is there anything you need to get out of your system before I begin my
dissertation? One thing I will say, because I've heard that song many, many times, but I love Phantom of the Opera. Yeah. I'm just going to not name drop so much, but I went to New York with my mum many years ago and we saw Phantom on Broadway.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most intense musical experiences of my life because it was very... It was just...
It really is.
Woo, okay.
Have you read the original book?
I haven't read the original
I have.
book.
It's interesting. It's worth... I mean, I think you can get it free on Project Gutenberg because it's an old story.
Yeah.
So it's worth having a read just to see the difference between... The musical makes the Phantom look like a far more pleasant person.
I was
going to
say they've sanitised him a lot.
They've cut out a lot of his serial killing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And torturing and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. That I've never picked up before, and this is my interpretation, I'm not saying this is what Andrew Lloyd Webber was going with.
Okay.
But in all the time I've listened to Phantom, which is many, I've never... The dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I'm like, that's very heartbeat. That's very...
Yeah.
This is tense. This is raising the tension. And I've never picked up on that before. I don't know why, but today is the day I have.
Well, now you've stolen point number 2.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. We'll make point number 2 first. Yeah, the song is full of tension, and a lot of that comes from that constant driving bass line all the way through. Dun, 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 dun.
In sleep he sang to me, in dreams he came.
The point of the story this falls in, it's the first time Christine and the Phantom have ever met face to face. So she thinks that he's a guardian angel or the sort of spirit of her father or something that's been looking after her, teaching her to sing. And it's not, it's a creepy guy that lives in the walls of an opera house.
Exactly.
So watch out for that.
That man and mystery.
So this is the first time that she actually confronts him and sees that he's not an angel or a ghost, or he's actually just a man, and he's mortal. And so this is their first sort of time that they sing together, and I think it's an interesting meeting because it's tense. It has a lot of little bits in it that build up that tension, and you'll get these sort of little stings of dun dun in the orchestration in the background that keep building, almost like something you would have in a horror movie soundtrack.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's sort of a horror movie,
kind of
a
is.
musical.
Yeah.
That's probably why I like it. So the whole thing is a continual build-up and build-up of tension. And you get to the end where she's singing these higher and higher and higher notes. And it ends on what is essentially a scream.
Yeah.
And she manages the notes. The whole thing's really well sung. It's incredibly well sung. And she manages that high note incredibly. But it is this sort of scream, a sort of terrorised scream at the end of it as he keeps pushing her.
I was just going to say, there's that driving thing.
He's sort of in the background.
Yeah.
Weirdo. A lot of the percussion is driven solely by that bass line, that dun 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 dun. And what's quite interesting is the first time that both voices sing together, about 2 minutes into the song, they're separate. The percussion actually falls into place the first time they both sing, and it's not solely reliant on just that dun dun bass. So the two voices come together and fit together. And then the backing sort of settles into itself, and I think it sort of sounds like a tambourine or something, like dum, 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 in the background, and the whole thing suddenly solidifies.
Yes.
I am the mask you wear.
It's me they hear. My spirit and my voice in one combined.
And I think that's sort of something about reflecting the relationship of this sort of, it's something that she goes back and forth on throughout most of the musical. It is sort of like, is this a creepy weirdo or is it not a creepy weirdo?
Yeah.
Turns out, creepy weirdo. But there's something obviously there that makes her feel secure.
Absolutely.
So I think I like that the music is reflecting that. I like the little bit of backing vocals you get in it as a the fans of the opera. Again, they're creepy sounding.
It's all very atmospheric. There's no part of it that like stops with that.
My most nerdy point that I will make, and then I will shut up forever,
No, please don't.
Is that when people think of the Phantom of the Opera, if they don't know it very well, they think of the organ.
Yes.
And they think of him playing the organ. And that sort of opening is incredibly famous. And then in the story, Christine's father was a violin player. And what's really interesting is if you listen to it, you listen to when the organ comes in and when strings come in.
Oh.
And once the organ tends to support the Phantom and the strings tend to come in with Christine. And I enjoy when musicals have leitmotifs or instrumentations that belong to a certain character. If you ever had to sit through Peter and the Wolf at school, you'll understand about that one.
Oh, yeah.
But the end bit, to me, is the most interesting part. The bit that doesn't really fit with the song, where he's just freaking out over his organ or whatever. That sounds weird.
That's a sentence.
But he starts out by saying, I brought you here, I this, I that, and the organ's going. When he changes to saying, you have come here, the strings come in.
Homage to music, music. You have come here.
So you've got a weird little bit of random flute going in the background, but you can hear the change. And it comes with the change from I to you.
I have never ever made that connection before in my whole life, and this is a musical I really love. So thank you.
No, I enjoy a detail. So yeah, that's my pick.
That is a very solid choice, and I'm not losing faith in mine, but they are very different.
Yours is really about a sort of a message,
an
about
emotion,
about what's possible to do with the genre of musical.
Absolutely.
Mine is just me nerding out over weird musical details.
And I think that is what makes this podcast great. You can follow us on Twitter at Worst Mixtape, where you can vote in the poll to find out which song is best, and you'll find out what our next upcoming podcast is going to be all about.
I think if I was going to be in a musical, Evita.
I can imagine you as Evita.
But I'd want to play both Evita and Che.